Well, hello and welcome everyone to my Courageous Conversations. And I'm really looking forward to today's conversation because I am talking to the lovely Caroline Chapman. Now, if you don't know Caroline, she is the founder of Grounded HR, and she provides straightforward, compassionate, down-to-earth human resources for small businesses. And I've known Caroline now for quite a while now, and watched her grow her business at a time that really not very many businesses were growing, but she's done absolutely brilliantly. And she was also a participant of my Courageous Females program, so we'll probably touch on that a little bit as well. But welcome, Caroline. Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
No, I'm really looking forward to it. So I think I'd like to start with when did you start your business? Because I don't think very many people know this, and I think it's so important.
I started it in February 2019. So, it wasn't a big bang launch or anything, but that's when it had its own identity and became its own thing. So I think it was about 6 weeks before the first lockdown.
Yeah. So so 20.
Oh, what did I said? No, sorry, February 19. No, I started it in February 20. It's a year old, just over a year old.
Yeah. So I mean, that was kind of quite incredible, really, wasn't it? Because just a few weeks before the lockdown. So how did you feel about that?
Well, to be honest, I don't know. We just sort of, we dealt with it. I had, plans, that I was going to network and I was going to talk to people and I was, going to do social media and this, that and the other. But then obviously I had then reduced capacity to do those things because I then had 3 children at home. So then we kind of had to homeschool and we had to adjust. So I don't know, it just fell then into its own pattern. And I'm not sure I kind of made any sort of conscious decisions, but I thought I had to put my family first. And then I thought, actually, I'll just use this time to grow and develop in a different way. So not that I had any kind of rigid plan. I've not ever been that kind of person. But yeah, we just kind of adapted it and did it go in a different way than it would have, maybe. But it all worked out fine.
Yeah, and what a challenge as well, having 3 kids at home and sort of the ages that really needed your help with schoolwork as well. I have 3 teenagers, so they kind of pretty much get on with it. But when they're at that age where you need support, it's really difficult to balance those 2 things, isn't it?
Yeah, and so my daughter, she was 11 at the time. My son, who has autism, was 10, and then my youngest son was 7. So it was just, it was, full on. And obviously schools were catching up. Things just weren't as structured. So we just made our own path, really. There wasn't anything else we could have done.
But it's, looking at it now, I mean, your business is just flourishing, isn't it? And I saw on LinkedIn you're looking to recruit, and so really growing, which is incredible.
And if you like, I can't complain, really. It's grown organically, and I've made use of taking the opportunities and the chances that have come along. I think if I'd have kind of forced it to have been what maybe I thought it was going to be, it would have just been too much stress. I just don't think I could have done it.
Yeah, I like that, because we do often have an idea, don't we, about where we think our businesses should go, and then we try to force it. And it becomes really hard and difficult. And that's so often where our stress kind of comes from, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think like the gift of being a business owner, and there are many challenges, but the gift of being a business owner is you can you can just go the way that you want to. It just if you want to kind of go off in a different direction or change your mind, then that's okay. You can just go with your flow, really.
Yeah. So looking back, sort of this time last year, what drew you to the Courageous Females program?
Yeah, so I'd seen your TED talk. Obviously, we'd worked together, during that TEDx, and maybe I'd seen you. I think I'd seen you speak before. You'd mentioned the principles, and obviously talk about how the principles had helped you when you weren't in a good place. You wanted to kind of change, and a lot of what you said resonated with me. And then when the Courageous Females came up, I was like, oh, this is a brilliant opportunity to kind of dip my toe into that understanding, find out some more about it, join, with what was a group of lovely women. And also I kind of felt that where we were in terms of lockdown and homeschool and everything, that it was just the right size. That it wasn't a real intensive program that required like loads of commitment or anything. It just felt like a really good introduction and a really good taste to it.
Yeah. So what did you expect? Did it meet expectations?
No, well, I don't know if I don't know if I had any expectations really, other than I wanted to sort of just learn more about the things that you talked about in the TEDx, and how they, it kind of helped you, and not that I ever felt that I was an unconfident person. I was not like some kind of mega big headed person, but I did do a lot of overthinking, and so to make a decision would be quite a lot of mental effort. So I kind of was like, oh well, if it can help me there, that would be good. But generally I think I just had a really open mind, and I just thought, let's just join it, let's just find out some more about it and see if that's for me.
So I know during the program we talk a lot about insights and things occurring to us and realizations, but is there anything that kind of comes to mind, or anything that sticks out when you look back over the program as a key insight that you had, or something where everything kind of changed and it looked different from that point?
Yeah, so the program, there's two things that stick out for me from the program, and one is like you'd said earlier, that we provide compassionate HR advice. And that particular word came from one of these conversations that you had with a lady called Sandra, and I'm really sorry I can't remember her last name. She was she was talking about her business, and I knew when I was wanting to develop my business, it was about treating people right, and not treating people with the minimum that you can get away with. And I was really struggling with a word to articulate that. And I used to listen to those conversations whilst doing my daily walk, that we were allowed to do. And I can remember where I was. Like I was walking kind of up the road, up the hill, and then you were talking to Sandra, and she said the word compassionate in the context of her business, and I was like, that's it. That's the word that I've been looking for, all this time. So that's one thing. And then the other thing also came out of another one of your conversations with Dr. Andrea. And I had never thought that the principles would apply to physical health. So, during the Courageous Females, we were talking about thought and, confidence and insights, and it was very much mental and, mental power. And then your conversation with her, and she was talking about how it then played into people's physical health. Again, I can remember where I was whilst I was listening to that, because that just blew my mind, because I think that was a few weeks into, maybe a couple of months into the program. So I'd kind of bought into the fact that, actually, we do have this kind of intelligence, this wisdom within us, and that helps us make decisions and, drives, our internal self-talk and how we feel about ourselves. But it had never occurred to me that it would affect or, had an impact on people's physical health. So those are the two real standout moments, really, from the program.
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? When you were just talking about compassion there, and what struck me is how different it is from how we're told business should be. So almost kind of like this kind of alpha idea that business should be in a certain way, and really that there's no room for the human being or for the compassionate person, or to consider other people, and bringing that into business is just, I think, really important, and taking a completely different view. Have you noticed that it's changed the way that you work, or the way that you interact with other businesses, or the way that they behave?
I just think, so when you start a business, a lot of people tell you need to niche. That's the kind of word. Who's your market? Who you niching to? And obviously, I support all small businesses. So I felt that there was a lot of pressure, is maybe too strong a word, but a lot of, let's just go with pressure about who am I going to work with? Am I going to work with restaurants? Am I going to work with retailers? Am I going to work with charities? Whatever. But actually, I realised along the way is that actually my niche, as it were, is values based. So it's kind of helped me to find the right kind of clients to work with. Because if there's lots of good HR consultancies throughout Yorkshire, but actually the people who come to me are the people who want to treat their employees in the right way. So even if it's you've got a disciplinary or a redundancy or something pretty difficult to deal with, it's not about being shying away from those. It's not about being soft in terms of those business decisions that need to be made. It's about just doing them in the right way, talking to people in the right way. So I guess it helped me find my niche, if that's the word that you want to put on it. And it just helped me to kind of find clarity in terms of growing my business and the people that I would want to work with. So it has totally impacted on my business and the way that I work. Yeah.
Wow, that was going to be my next question. Well, how did it impact your business? And it's like, wow, I got all this clarity and now I know who I'm working with. I mean, I don't think it gets much better than that, does it, really?
Oh, sorry about the horn. I don't know if you can hear the background noise, but
that's fine. So, but what about your life more generally? I mean, did the program and the understanding that I shared in it, has that impacted your life more generally?
Yeah, so like I'd said, I didn't necessarily think of myself as an unconfident person, but there was a lot of inner critic. There was a lot of, are we sure that's the right thing? Let's go through 100 permutations of this decision, before you make it. So the programs helped me to lose quite a lot of that baggage. And don't get me wrong, that those kind of things still, pop up. But, often I'm kind of aware of them now, or, I'm on the lookout for them. So I can then just be like, oh, shut up. I've heard this before. Come on, let's, move on. So I think it's really helped in that way, and then also thinking about it from a physical health point of view. kind of going back to that, so after the program, but kind of coming up to Christmas, I was exhausted, and I think a lot of people were, but I just kept pushing. I just kind of was like, no, we'll as long we'll just keep going with it. We'll, and then I don't know. I guess I just wasn't tuned into what was going on, and then I think maybe we'd had a conversation or a couple of conversations, and I realized that I just needed to rest, like in a major way. Like I just needed to kind of sleep, and take that time out. And I had a lot of, again, kind of negative self-talk type stuff about, you should be exercising, you should be eating healthier meals, get up early and exercise, that's what you used to do. You felt great when you did that before. And it was just making me more and more exhausted. And somewhere, like within me was that kind of little voice that, kind of needs to be louder, and that we should always listen to, that, may kind of, thankfully before I got ill, because I think if I'd have kept going, I probably would have made myself ill, and that I think it was the Christmas holidays, like I slept in because there was, nobody to kind of get up and get to school, like I slept in longer than I would, and I felt like a new woman. But it was so obvious, and but I just kind of, I'd got lost in the whole, oh no, you need to eat healthier, you need to cook healthier meals, you need to exercise, you need to do all these things, when actually I was just knackered, and I needed to sleep. So, again, it's hindsight, isn't it? So like a wonderful thing. I kind of now have those sorts of things on my radar, and I'm always, if I'm struggling with something, or something's more difficult than it should be, or I'm tired, trying to find the little voice that knows the answers, that often gets drowned out by all the noise.
Isn't it? That we have this kind of internal guidance system that we so often don't recognize, but then when we listen to it, it can be just so transformative. I mean, you don't get so much better than feeling like a new woman, just by listening to the little voice inside. I mean, it's like it shortcuts everything, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's incredible. So I suppose finally, I mean, this might be a bit of an obvious question, but I mean, would you recommend the program to women who were feeling like you were feeling sort of 12 months ago? Would you say, it was impactful for you?
Yeah, absolutely, like 100%. And part of the program, you asked us to do sort of a little bit of a questionnaire before we started, and then at the end, and then I can remember that, like, I was in a good place when I did it, but actually the difference in the scores of how I kind of felt about myself, how much more confident I felt, was incredible. And then I think with the principles, you just, I don't know, it's just a continuous journey. And I often feel like Homer Simpson, because it's like, don't, like, why did I not see that before? Why did I not realize that before? So it's kind of the gift that keeps giving, really.
Yeah.
That's a strap line for you.
Yeah, but I think that's so true. And I mean, that happens to me too as well, and it's like, yeah, that's so obvious, why didn't I see that in real time? Or I'm struggling with a problem. I mean, this happened recently, struggling with a problem, and then had the wisdom to kind of just step away and go do something else, and then the answer came to me, and it was so obvious. It was like, how could we not have thought of that before? We would have saved like a couple of hours struggling, because that's what we've done. And yeah, it's just the gift that keeps on giving. It really. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, Caroline. It's been so lovely.
You're welcome. Thanks.
you so much for sharing all of your experiences. And if anyone is, listening and they're interested in the Courageous Females program, then you can find out more on the link which is attached to this video, or you can visit my website at andreamorrison.co.uk. But thank you very much, Caroline.
Thank you.